Hello, everybody, and welcome to Off the Wall Nerds. We are back after a
Hello,
little bit of a
hello.
hiatus. We have Justin here with us. We were both feeling sick last week. Oh, what is this? We have Ross popping in.
Oh, wow,
Special
Ross has
guest
joined the
star.
chat.
Hello, everybody.
Now, Ross is, of course, showing off his Warhammer collection down there that he's probably going to start painting. We
This
welcome you
is
guys. We are
BattleTech.
Battletech. There we go.
Oh, God damn it, Greg. At least get one thing right.
You know what, Justin? Go
Hey,
home.
it's not your niche, so I am not going to gatekeep or belittle this time.
So we are back after a little bit of a hiatus. Justin and I weren't feeling well last week. We decided to take a little bit of a break. So we're back this week. We convinced Ross. He said that Saturday would be the best. That's why we're going live a day early, because we have a couple of these to talk about via Star Trek. First off, being Star Trek Picard Season 3 is in full swing. Justin and I haven't had the chance to talk about it, nor Ross. So we're going to definitely lead off with that. It is off to a very, very strong start, 4 episodes in. We'll also be talking about Bad Batch. Bad Batch has been really picking up the pace here. It's turning out to be a great season 2. Last of Us. I just can't. It's an amazing show. I can't recommend it enough.
I mean, Last of Us, we might as well start off with that one because, oh my freaking God, they are doing the video game justice. You know, I was worried with The Last of Us going into it that it was going to be like Halo. Thank God I was wrong because they are doing this show and the video game justice. It is like a one-to-one pairing. There's actually a YouTube series that someone is doing that's comparing each episode to different parts of the video game and how they all line up. It is actually pretty one-to-one. Pretty amazing.
IGN is doing that as well.
Yeah, I've seen that one too.
So
And,
we're
well, to their credits, it's a lot easier to do a one-for-one with a game like The Last of Us, which is an action game, a third-person action game.
Mhm.
You don't have to translate between genres like Halo, where it's a first-person shooter, where you are the insert for the main character.
Right, but with Halo though, we still had a lot of cutscenes that had the story that they could have followed.
Cutscenes that when played back to back only last about 20 to 30 minutes.
And we have Greg putting his earpods in, which is bound to screw up all the audio there for a minute.
I don't think it's going to screw anything up. Oh, it might.
There we go.
Hold on.
Why?
Whatever. Come on.
Every time, Greg. Every time.
Okay. So, before we get started on our show tonight, Joe, who's wearing the nipple tasties or nipple tassels? And Justin, your balls drop, your voice is deeper. And Ross, Joe is enjoying your sexy hands.
I'm glad to provide.
God damn it, Joe.
I haven't been able to stream in quite some time, so it's nice to get back on the internet again.
So,
you decided to join. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of good stuff to talk about tonight as far as Picard goes, so I'm looking forward to it.
Holy fucking yes.
All right, so speaking of, we are leading on with Star Trek Picard tonight with our main topic, and it has started off really, really good. It's season 3 started off the way we wanted season 1 and 2 to start, but it found its footing. It's doing great so far. Everybody's in love with Captain Liam Shaw.
Yeah, I hated him in the first episode, and in the second episode, I fucking loved him.
I hate how he treats Picard and Riker, but overall, he is a good captain.
Well, we figured out why in this episode.
He won't. Yeah. Yes, he won't call 7-7. So there is that.
Well, that worked to their advantage.
Yes, it did. So to try and speed up here. So Star Trek Picard started off with basically, as we saw in the trailer, Beverly calling Jean-Luc for help, and of course, him and Laris are now a thing. Awesome, but of course, she's on some planet waiting for him while he goes and handles this. And come to find out, I mean, it didn't take long watching the first episode. Picard and Beverly had a kid. His name is Jack.
Surprise.
They didn't confirm that until episode 3.
Thanks to Will Riker. Thanks to Will Riker telling us. I love that Riker was pushing it that whole episode. Like, really, you can't tell?
They all kind of danced around it until they let Picard be the one to finally say it.
Right.
Not even Beverly said it. All she did was give him a look, and he was like, "Oh, shit, here we go."
Yep. and this is actually that was the turning point.
Excuse me. Oh, fuck.
Where people started liking Captain Shaw was the second he's all, "That's my son," and Shaw's like, "Damn it! All right, shields up." Like he's not about to turn over a guy's son. So that's where Shaw had his redemption started, and so that didn't take long. It's been pretty straightforward for the most part. We have a very interesting villain in Vadic. They did not disappoint with telling us beforehand how crazy and villainous she would be. The Miss Palmer is.
I love the smoking. I love the smoking villain. That is, that ties the evil villainous home.
She's missing the apple.
And even though she is a changeling, Star Trek 6.
Ahead of yourself.
Anyway, Justin.
Well, it ties back to Star Trek 6, Martha's smoking. Because she was smoking too.
On Rua Penthe, where she died.
Exactly. But the changelings do smoke, apparently.
Changing everybody's smoking. Apparently, everybody's smoking. I mean, come on. Even Raffi took a hit of something.
Well, Raffi took a hit of a lot of things.
And apparently, weed's still a thing in the 24th century.
So while we're dealing with Vadic being a nuisance, and I'll say right now, a nuisance to Picard and crew.
Until Riker threw an asteroid at her ship.
More of a nuisance, man.
We have the return of everybody's favorite Klingon. Raffi's handler is Worf.
Worf, son of Moog of House Martok, son of Sergei of House Roshenko, bane of the Duras family, slayer of
Gowron.
I
love the title.
I'll say it. That intro's way too winded for Worf. I'm sorry. His customary son of Moog was perfect.
Well, yes, but he's done so much more than just the son of Moog. Worf is as Raffi was absolutely fawning over him, an absolute legend for both the people of the Empire and Starfleet.
And this is
pretty much.
I mean, what else do you call someone who is wise enough to know that he is not cut out for the chancellorship, who denies ultimate power and authority in the Empire?
Who killed Gowron out of spite.
I mean, he's what people think Caesar was.
Right, and so we have Worf back, and I'm thrilled. Like, Michael Dorn is just extending his record for most Star Trek episode appearances ever. But
with him and Riker,
handler, they discover a weapon that Vadic ends up having, this quantum tunnel weapon that is terrifying in its first debut.
Vadic apparently ended up dumping.
Yes, Vadic did get rid of it at the end of episode 4, or near the end of episode 4, because they had to go back into she was ordered back into.
You guys are keeping this recap all over the place.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's been a great start. I like that when they realize there's a changeling on board, they get into gear, and I'll say this: we've had 2 references, one in voice, one in the picture of Odo, Renee Auberjonois, as it was just great to have Worf say, "An old friend warned me this might happen,"
a man
and then
of honor.
get him on a pad and see his picture. It's like, oh. But Ross, since you're our special guest tonight, your thoughts so far on Picard season 3?
Picard season 3 is absolutely phenomenal so far. I wasn't ashamed to voice my disappointment about a lot of things from season 2, and especially at the end where we lost Rios, we lost Elnor, we lost Jurati, we lost Soji, we lost so many characters that I was hoping to see so much more of, but holy crap, did we make up for it in the cast for this season. And I'm not talking about the returning TNG characters. Shaw was engaging from the first moment. You wanted to loathe him for how much of an asshole he was being.
And not to mention the Titan Bridge group. Holy shit. They really...
Just the him talking to Riker about purging all jazz from the ship because he doesn't like unstructured music. And I'm sitting there thinking, bitch, this guy is a narrow-minded jerk.
But I will defend Shaw on that point. I defend his thing. He goes, I like structure. I will defend that move.
But as we've learned more about him, seeing how he responds to scenarios, you wanted him to just go along with everything, but we need that counterweight. Seven is willing to just bend over backwards for Picard because he's done a lot for her. They've been through a lot together in the last 2 years. And Shaw, his number one priority is the ship and the crew. And that is made very clear. He's a jerk about it, but in the same kind of way that Jellicoe was a jerk. You don't like him because he's someone different and he doesn't just go along with what you expect.
And we never really liked Jellicoe at all.
And then in the end, you find out, well, it's because he's fucking traumatized because he's a survivor of Wolf 359. And oh man, in this last episode, that whole scene where he trauma dumps on Jean-Luc in front of everybody, it was so powerful and raw and real in so many ways. It was so different from Sisko. And Justin, you and I had a brief interaction earlier today that you thought Sisko did it better. Well, I'm going to reiterate right now that no, he did not. Here's the key difference.
Shaw did it better than Sisko. Look.
Did I misread that?
I was every that Sisko did it better.
Brushes down now. So, I've seen a few interactions like this where people say Sisko did it better because he was more reserved and professional. Sisko, when he confronted Captain Picard, was in the conference room of the Enterprise D. He was a commander. Picard was a captain. He was on his ship. He was on his home turf. Picard had positional and institutional authority over Sisko. There wasn't anything he could say or do outside a perfectly professional way that wouldn't land him in serious trouble. Shaw, on the other hand, injured on his own ship. His ship and crew, out of command because of his injury. His ship and crew are currently facing certain death. And his inhibitions are gone because he was high on fucking the best painkillers Beverly could give him. And he was face to face with the face of his trauma. Is it any wonder that he went off the way he did?
True.
And then turn it around 20 minutes later, and he and Seven are in the nacelle control room in my second favorite scene of the episode, because she finally understands his language. He's being an asshole to her, not because he's an asshole, because it's the only way he knows how to express himself to shield his own trauma. And now that she understands that, they're just swapping back and forth. Like they speak the same language. And I loved that because, well, that's the environment I know. Anyone who is a veteran, a mechanic, a cook, and any other profession that leaves emotional scars knows exactly what you're talking about.
Well, 10 years, emotional scars is part of the job.
And that's a fair point on Shaw. My favorite line from him was, "I'm just a dipshit from Chicago." So
Grease monkey from Chicago.
That was my favorite line from him. And then of course when Picard asks him for help, he goes, aside from you being a dipshit from Chicago. Joe's all, Greg has a Sisko ball, it's just a baseball. It's not as worn down as Sisko's ball was.
Greg just likes playing with balls, Joe. It's okay.
They're not Joe's balls, so I gotta work.
I would be worried if they were Joe's balls.
Justin,
only Carlos has those.
Your thoughts on Picard season 3 so far?
So far, I fucking love it. You know my feelings on Picard season 1 and 2. This is what season 1 and 2 should have been. You know, minus, we had Eleanor and Rios and all that, which, they could have incorporated them in. But, I mean, it's so much more Star Trek. I mean, the story so far, it flows so well. We got the villain that just makes it all even better. They hid what villain was, that was Changelings until, episode 3, episode 2 or 3, until we figured out, that villains were Changelings. Holy shit,
Didn't make it ambiguous, did they?
No, I mean, they're keeping everything a guessing game as it is. There could be another villain in the works. I mean, there's a lot of DS9 references in the teaser trailer and in Picard's study whenever we first seen everything. It's like, what if the Paul Wraiths are involved? Changeling.
I wouldn't be surprised if we found out that there was some form of changeling influence in this as well. Like maybe the Zhat Vash were aided secret or outside their own notice by these changeling rebels as well.
Exactly. No, I mean, it would not be a surprise at all the Paul Wraiths were involved, especially with that cryptic message that we saw from Vatican. When have we ever seen changeling communicate that way?
Well,
no. We have seen Paul Wraiths communicate like that.
I have a different theory that I'll go into later. Once we get into, I assume there is a theory section.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Against Greg's better judgment, there's a theory section. But yes, so far, yeah, this season is, it turned a lot of heads around. There's a lot of former haters that have come into the fold because of this season. Robert Meyer Burnett was a big, outspoken opponent of New Trek up until this season of Picard, and he's enjoying it. And the Matic, he's enjoying it, which is scary as hell. Neurotic.
Letter Media saying.
Reddit Butter Media was excluded from getting this, but apparently they're even liking it. But yeah, a lot of the haters got early access screeners, so yeah, that's a whole other thing. Which, I understand CBS is reasoning behind it because, I mean, it's good PR to get haters to come into the fold.
Yeah, but that also presents a risk if they just stick with their senseless nitpicking.
True. Well, I think that's why they only got like the first 6 episodes that they were going to hate on it. They weren't going to get anymore. But so far, that everyone's liked it, which is surprising. I mean, people that have been very outspoken opponents come to like the season so far. Yes, you still got the outright haters that are going to bitch no matter what, but they're like, oh, it's too dark. It's too dark. Well, I mean, why would you want to work in an overly bright fucking room?
No, Shaw's a grease monkey. He's used to it being dark.
Yeah. I mean, the lighting scene is fine. It just don't make no damn sense why people are bitching about the lighting. It really doesn't.
I'm defending the whole it's too dark thing. It really is too dark. Like, okay, there's certain sections of the ship, I get it, especially when they were in low power mode, falling, I get the no lighting, but when we board the ship for the first time, it's dark. It's like, come on, that ship's at full power. It's just the lighting is terrible, but it's not. It's not the
first episode. They had to re-upload because the lighting was dark. Have you rewatched the first episode since then? That scene looks a lot better.
Yeah, a lot of people message Dave Bliss every time they see something some issue. There was a major spoiler in the closed captions of the first couple episodes that they had to be aware of to fix.
Yeah, mainly the changeling spoiler.
But so yeah, and so pretty much we're all in agreement. Like Picard season 3 is, being absolutely phenomenal. I'm loving Ed Speleers as Jack Crusher. I love that he's all kind of weird that my mom would name me after her deceased husband, and Picard straight going, I would have named you the same. It's reassuring him like, no, he goes, my best friend meant something to both of us. He goes, you would have come out Jack either way.
Which is funny considering all of Beta Canon had his first kid named Renee.
Right. I would laugh if if Jack does not speak a lick of French. That'd be great. He
What?
does have the English accent, which Beverly put as he went to school in London. Okay, it covers that bar, but okay.
They did a really good job of hitting a lot of the criticisms people would have
Right.
immediately.
Mm.
Like the accents, the holodeck.
Why wasn't he around? Why didn't he want to see his father? And then we get that scene at the
Well,
end of
that
that
was-
episode
That was a
where
good.
we see him in the bar.
That was a good end of episode reveal. That's a very good secret that was kept through
It
the
was and
episode.
it did, and after Last of Us, this one hit hard too. To have Jack actually have sat there and ask him, "Well, what did you want? Did you ever want a family?" And Picard give a Picard answer that
Yep.
Starfleet was the only family he ever needed.
And there's the answer to why Jack never sought him out
Right.
or never kept seeing him.
Will Picard give it a different answer had he not been in front of a whole floor of set?
Yeah.
That's the question.
So before we dive into the theory part of this, then we have talked about the show quite a bit. We do know that Worf and Raffi are going to end up combining with Riker, Picard, and then this is all going to come into probably, I won't say last couple episodes,
And even
where they'll
more.
all reunite. And of course, we have one character that has not been hinted at since the trailer, and that's Moriarty.
Right.
I'm
Or-
wondering how he comes into play, how him and Laura come into play.
We've seen Lore a couple more times in every trailer. We've seen Lore. We only saw Moriarty that once, so it'll be really, really interesting to see what they do.
But they keep mentioning Daystrom Institute, and that will make sense that Laura Moriarty would be stored at Daystrom.
So yeah, they could have been part of the theft of that quantum leap, that quantum tunneling weapon. But again, Vadic got rid of it. I wouldn't be surprised that since they disabled Vadic's ship, that they would have found it. But then again, the Titan did warp out the second they left the nebula, so I'm pretty sure we're not going to see the quantum weapon again, just because.
Unless Vadic goes back and gets it. I mean, they would probably know where it's at.
I can really appreciate Palmer's, like, after she discusses whatever after she cuts off her changeling hand, gets her orders, she is completely terrified, of course, for good reason. But the second the hand is reattached and she turns around, right back into menacing, giggling, evil villain. It's like the girl knew what switch to flip and how to flip it. So she's doing really, really well with this role. I hope that she's not some sort of MacGuffin villain. Like, she's gonna be the big bad, or at least, the right hand of the big bad, if you will. For the rest
She's
of the
not
season. Like,
hand.
She's not a big bad.
if she dies, it better be a really good death by, like, Worf's hands and not some shit blowing up.
You're like Riker throwing a fucking asteroid at her ship. Like, I'm really surprised when Beverly said, "Did you really just throw an asteroid at her?" Riker should have turned around and said, "Well, she threw your ship at us, so
yeah.
Happy Arbor Day. What?
Mm.
All right. So as Ross wanted to allude to, so again, we're gonna start with Ross. Ross, so you have a couple theories. So why don't you lay them on us about what we think is gonna happen? And remember, we're 4 episodes in. There's 6 to go.
It's 10 episodes, right?
Yep.
Back in my childhood, one of the most impactful episodes of Batman the Animated Series was a episode called Growing Pains. It was one of the few episodes where Robin was the main character. And in that episode, he comes across a young homeless girl that he decides to help. She is being pursued by someone she is terrified of, a large, buff man in a trench coat. They run for quite some time before they understand that she is being chased by Clayface, who's been away for quite some time. This girl has no idea why Clayface is after her, but come to find out, she's actually an extension of Clayface. She forgot what her instructions were and essentially formed her own personality in the short time of existing and just wanted to keep on living. She sacrifices herself to save Robin and is absorbed back into Clayface. And I think that is what's going on here, both with Vadic and with Jack. Vadic is an extension of the changeling that she spoke to. She cut off her hand so that it could manifest and communicate to her because she is a part of it. And that is how Jack is able to hear that changeling's voice. Come to me, we hear. Come find me. That is him speaking to Jack. I don't know if Jack is a changeling himself, or if a part of a changeling manifested within him, or if a changeling slithered inside of Beverly and decided to become a pregnancy. But I'm open to possibilities.
What if the Paul Ray speaking to Jack?
I don't think the Paul Rays have anything to do with it, Justin.
I don't know. There's a lot of heavy DS9 present, in the trailers.
Leia's just absolutely blown away. She's all, wow, Ross, wow.
I don't think the Paul Rays have anything to do
I don't think the
with
Paul
this,
Rays are involved in this at all.
No one thought the changelings were involved in it either until magically they were announced.
There's no connection between the Pod Wraiths and the Founders at all in Star Trek.
Here's
the wormhole.
Here's the difference. Well, we haven't seen the wormhole at all. Here's the difference there, Justin. We had hints that these were changelings from the very first episode.
Yes.
Oh, either the changelings or the bluegills.
No, well, we thought bluegills too. I'll admit that. But when both Jack and Beverly said that they were being pursued by someone who kept changing faces or changing bodies every time that they encountered them,
could have been bluegills.
No, because once the bluegills infest a host, they're kind of stuck there until they develop and move on.
Right.
But it has multiple holes.
The changelings fit a whole lot better than bluegills.
Yeah. But Paul Rays isn't that far-fetched either.
Anyway, moving on from Paul Rays. But Justin, you are up next with your own theory, as we got Ross's. So,
like I said, I'm wanting to think Paul Rays, but we could also see another. I mean, someone's got to be teamed up with Changeling. It just, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense for Rogue Group of Changelings to be doing all this on their own. Wow. So, I mean, they would have to have help. I mean, they don't have Vorta. They don't have any. They don't have anybody else. So, I mean, they would have to have help. Something. And that we've seen in the her communications, it didn't look like a changeling. I mean, why would it be distorted like that?
It could also be the way she perceives the Great Link. It could have been her just talking with the Great Link in her own way versus.
And since when did changelings kill each other? Last time that happened, that was the previous thing. Look what they did to Odell for it.
Well, remember, she wasn't trying to kill him.
Yeah, but they were threatening.
Yeah, they were threatening everybody, but they wanted Jack Crusher alive.
Right, but the person that she talked to in the communication threatened her and her crew, said that they were expendable.
Because she's an extension of him.
Maybe.
All that thought, Justin. You guys go ahead.
Holding the thought.
There was a whole lot to really enjoy in this season. Just the Shrike is a terrifying ship, isn't it?
It puts the god thing. What was that? It
doesn't put the scimitar to shame.
It's a close second. It makes the scimitar a close second because this ship. Well, you couldn't really have thrown an asteroid at a scimitar.
No, that was most definitely scary. Throwing one ship at another was definitely a nice terror touch.
A new touch. Yeah, that's the new Star Trek touch. I don't think that has ever been done before. And no, they did it in Enterprise, but it was the alternate reality.
Well, ships colliding with each other is nothing new, but taking your tractor beam and Lower Decks.
Oh yeah.
The Scavengers did it in Lower Decks.
Yep.
The Salvagers, yeah.
Yep, that's right. Yeah,
that
it's
disgusting Picard.
I mean, you know, it's so far. It is just like I love the way they're keeping you guessing this season.
Oh
And
yeah.
we're 4 episodes in, and we're already through Act 1. You know, so we got to go through the next act. That's where we get the rest of the crew that somehow joins in. We get LaForge, and I wonder if this means we're getting another ship with the Titan as badly fucked up as it is, and that means we might get another ship,
I think we all know what ship we're going to get.
the Enterprise.
Yes.
I don't know which Enterprise we're going to get.
The one and only F,
Well, the F supposedly badly fucked up.
but
No,
functional.
it's been scheduled for early decommission.
Yeah.
I still think we're going to get it.
We might. It wouldn't be surprising at all if we got the F.
Okay, if we don't get
But
if we don't
LaForge
get the
is
F,
in
it'll be the
charge.
biggest- it'll be the biggest tease because it's in the damn trailer.
Yeah.
I know
Well,
they would cut stuff from the trailer, but come on.
Well, LaForge is in charge of the museum, so
they
it
might
would
get
make
the-
sense that we
they
get
might
the
get
F
the-
or the E or the recreation of the D.
I don't think we're not going to get the D, man.
No, we got enough. Okay, this is gonna sound terrible. We got enough of the D. Go ahead and laugh, people. But from 10 forward with all the models, and we got enough in jokes. So it's like, oh, how come nobody wants the Enterprise D? Nobody likes the fat one. It's like, ow.
Well, I mean, they're certainly
I think
hinting
that's
at it. They're certainly hinting at it a lot, but I mean,
I
you
think
know,
okay, if we see the D at all, it'll be in some holodeck thing with Moriarty because that's what we know him from. So it's possible,
Yeah.
but with lore coming into this,
they're kind of hinting at seeing the D.
well, it would be a flashback if anything. Because remember, if
Well,
we see-
you know, we also see Lore with the TNG crew in a shuttlecraft in a Starfleet uniform, which I'm trying to figure out. Does that mean he turned good, or he's just part of the mission now?
Well,
Oh.
learning his brother died defending people and that he has a younger brother named Lore, he might have decided to take on a elder brother role now that Data is gone.
yeah, if Lore, like we're definitely gonna get something where Lore finds out that Data died and Lore turns a new leaf because as much as Lore was a jerk and torturing and all that, his main priority was always having Data by his side.
And also keep in mind that there is now an entire colony full of siblings.
Yes.
True. And let's not forget that all of Data's memories were downloaded into B4. So if Lore was at Ashram, they could have transferred Data's memories from B4 into Lore.
Well, also in all of the androids of the colony.
Well, yeah,
A copy of Data's
All the
matrix
non-people ones.
was used to create all of them.
true. So,
But
it's quite possible.
yep, that'll conclude our talk on Star Trek Picard. Again, we have 6 more episodes to go, so
Well, we haven't heard your theories yet.
I don't have any theories.
Who's your
But we have a lot of episodes to go, and as so far as we can tell, like other shows take breaks. There are no breaks in Picard, so it's just going to come out 10
Thank
straight
God.
weeks, 6 more weeks to go. It's going
I wonder what's coming after Picard.
to. Well, funny you mentioned that. Justin and I are very stoked. Discovery has been canceled. Season 5 will be its final season.
Can you call
And
it being
I love-
canceled when they've decided not to carry it forward? Canceled assumes that it's failed.
Anyway,
Well-
okay, Discovery is concluding with its 5th season. However, they didn't mention this. It was supposed to premiere this year. It has been pushed back to next. They're still filming it.
They decided to film a proper conclusion for it, so they probably had to go call everybody back in just to film the conclusion to it.
We hope a proper conclusion.
Or are they always meant to end it after 5 seasons?
Probably not.
No. They had long-term goals in that show, and every season got shorter and shorter with the fan outrage.
Well, I'm sorry. As much as they tried with
Fan
that, they should have
outrage
done what they
doesn't
did with
suggest-
season 5. What they should have done what they done with the season 4 in season 1.
fan outrage
But had
would
Lorca.
not affect production that much.
If fan outrage would have affected production, TNG would have been canceled in season 1.
If fan outrage didn't affect anything, Sonic would have never changed.
Well, that's got Sony's pussy.
Deadpool would have never happened.
Those are horses of a different color.
Literally.
If Paramount listened to people, Alex Peters would have gotten sued again.
But that is all we have for right. Not all we have. I mean, as far as Discovery is concerned, it is concluding after its 5th season. It does premiere next year. I would guess an episode count of about 10. I don't think
the last few seasons have been anything to go by. Might get an episode count of 8 for all we know.
8 to 10 would be strong for Disco just to end it on there. As far as what I think, every new Trek show has been 10 episodes, with the exception of Discovery going from like 15, 13 to 11. So
I wonder what they're going to replace it with. My vote is for a Worf and Rappy show.
They need to.
I want a Shaw show.
What?
I want a Shaw show.
I wouldn't mind that either, because Shaw's quickly becoming a new favorite. The dipshit from Chicago is actually growing on me.
Or let off the gas a little bit and let Lower Decks get canceled, then put something else.
Lower Decks is going to last 100 years.
But
150 years since you annoy Greg.
It'll live as long as the Vulcan.
It'll outlive Star Wars.
Speaking of Star Wars, the next show we want to talk about is Star Wars: The Bad Batch. Now, we know Ross hasn't kept up too much on the other shows we're going to talk about, but Bad Batch isn't one of those that I want to say will change lives with spoilers. But Bad Batch started off pretty slow with a 2-episode premiere. It didn't impress me and Justin coming out the gate. Episode 3, we talked about episode 3 a lot with Rex and Crosshair working together. And we basically got this most recent episode as a sequel to that episode 3, where Crosshair has felt real lost now. Not where he got abandoned or left his his old squad. In this most recent episode, Crosshair goes to a planet with the most dick of new officer lieutenants. One of those guys that's just fresh out of officer school. Ross could probably speak to that. Where they think they know everything.
The worst.
I've had managers thought that I've put in their places.
But so they go to this base, and what ends up happening is they are sent to reinforce them. We meet a clone commander. His name is Mayday. He's like, we've been waiting so many cycles. You guys just never came to help us. From what we see, there's 3 of them left out of probably like a battalion. So they've been slowly dying and picked off. Crosshair goes on a mission with Mayday to recover some stolen cargo. Mayday sacrifices his life to save Crosshair, and that's what starts changing for Crosshair, because not only is he getting demeaned as a clone by this new lieutenant, he's now seeing the selflessness of a lot of these clones, that they just want to live. They want to back each other up. So Crosshair and him, Mayday gets hurt. Crosshair attempts to save him. He literally drags him back to base. Mayday is barely hanging on. He begs the lieutenant, legit Crosshair begs that he needs a medic. The lieutenant says no. Mayday dies right there. And Crosshair has a small bit of redemption. He shoots and kills the lieutenant point blank range. Crosshair then passes out. He wakes up on a new planet in a facility with the Kaminoans, the last 2 that we know of. He's probably going to get experimented on, a part of an experiment. But Justin, what did you think of that? Do you think Crosshair is going to get redeemed?
I don't know. I mean, it's certainly looking that way. For the moment. Hang on a second. There we go. Yeah, it's looking that way for the moment. But I mean, whether or not that's the case, we'll have to see it. Will he get redeemed and rescued by his former squad? We'll have to see.
Wonder if they'd even take him back.
I don't know. If they think he's redeemed himself, he might. I mean, first we can say that 2 Caledonians are in jail with them somehow. He would be the first one that it will be the first one that he calls if he manages to get out.
There would be some words.
Because you're no
that's for
longer
sure.
working with Sid. Or did they break away from Sid? I know they were going to at one point.
Last we see they're trying to, but Sid keeps manipulating them to take a job. So this is one of those where we didn't obviously interact with them at all. So this is purely Crosshair's story. So we're getting two
Right.
storylines in this one go in the season, and
I think we'll see them come back together at some point, probably the next episode. We'll see that start to happen. I would guess that'd be my guess. Anyways, we will see that start to go on next episode. But yeah, the season's not too bad so far. It started off slow. There's been a couple of episodes that have been kind of meh, but I mean it makes up for it.
Is Sid
It does.
becoming untrustworthy, or is she just being the usual kind of sleazy information broker and keeping a tool around
Pretty
as
much
long as she
being a
can?
pretty
con.
much the sleazy tool thing. What happened early on is that she got into a really bad bind. Tech ended up saving her ass in what was a makeshift pod race. And then so she was like in their debt, like, oh hey, thanks for helping me out. But then the next episode, she's just right back to it, like you guys are gonna do this and this. So she's being herself. She took for the guys did get stranded, and she took her sweet time trying to get them any help. So yeah. But we'll see. I don't think Sid is gonna betray them, but she's definitely just being a jerk.
Yeah, we're definitely looking at a eventual separation of the two for too long. I
Yeah,
think.
they do want to break away from Sid. They're trying to get. I think the last episode we saw before this was that they were attempting to get one last mission done to get away from her. Tech suggested it. Wrecker and Hunter are like, okay, you know what, we're fine with that, and Omega's like on board as well. Like even she's tired of Sid, so that tells you something right there.
I imagine they're going to want to hook up with the rebellion eventually.
It's kind of seeming like that. Again, they have been working with Rex. Rex did defect. There was an episode where he was working with Crosshair. He defected, so now Rex has been trying to help clones in trouble, and he's hooked up with Clone Force 99 to help them out, and Echo left them to help Rex. So it's just Hunter, Tech, and Wrecker at the moment, along with Omega. And of course, though, what you did miss, Ross, is that Tech and Omega had a heart to heart. She probably gave Tech his first ever hug, and it kind of melts your heart a little bit.
Aww.
So, but yeah, that's what we're looking at with Bad Batch. I'm looking forward to this Crosshair thing because it's gonna be a lot of fun. This is not like Picard. The only reason I'm saying this is because we have two different storylines that are gonna end up converging. So we have Crosshair's story, a couple episodes with him, and of course, Hunter and them. So they're gonna end up colliding again, much like Picard and Worf and them. So Bad Batch is doing really, really well. Again, there has been a lot of interlude, also known as filler. But
A
Not
lot more
everything can be of a
this season
breakneck
than there was
pace.
last season.
I'm glad
Actually.
you guys remember my numerous chidings.
Lord X. Lord X.
But as Justin said, though, this season, as far as pacing goes, this is much better than the first season. Stuff is a little more linear, so it's easier to keep track of. So we're definitely off to a good start. Bad Batch season 2. And of course, the next show we're going to talk about, hold on, let's see. Joe said earlier, bring Lorca back, kill Burnham, let's eat some calamari.
God damn it, Joe.
Joe.
Go to
Anyway,
bed.
our
Burnham
next show we
will
want to
also be around for 100 years.
The next show we want to talk about hit everybody in the world who saw this episode right in the feels.
Moist.
And now, while there was a whole episode, we could sum up the episode in just a few words that, Ellie is still trying to save Joel. She runs into another group. These guys are the people Joe killed while they were trying to escape. But she ends up getting Joel medicine, so gave him penicillin. We know he's gonna be fine.
In a frame by frame recreation of the video game, might I add.
As far as the video game adaptations go, as Justin just said, this is literally aside from like night and day, literally like, oh, this happened at night, this happened at day. This is point for point on the video game. Like you can watch the game cutscene and the show, and you're not missing anything.
No, they have taken some liberties, but
Yes,
they've been very minor, and it adds to the story. In my take.
In a fun one, Troy Baker, the original Joel from the games, got a cameo role as one of the villains. He enjoyed playing it, so we got to see Troy Baker in his live action debut. But of course, this guy leading the group is a pastor, and he's a sleazeball. I knew from the moment he opened his mouth he was a sleazeball. But he ends up capturing Ellie, and they still haven't found Joel. Joel is still healing, but he ends up, of course, being Joel and being the hero. But this pastor catches Ellie, and you just know right away that he's how do I say this?
An evil fuck.
I don't even know. You know what? No, like evil. Vatic is evil in Star Trek. This is not evil. This is sick. Like this guy.
Oh yeah.
He basically talks about starting a
Something
new
we
life.
had on Twitch for YouTube.
Yeah. So he's basically talking about raping Ellie and making him and all that. So, but Ellie, as just exactly in the game. So if you played the game, you know exactly what happens. I didn't cheer harder for anything this year in a show when I saw Ellie just absolutely hacking away him and hearing him gurgle and the blood spatter. She just kept hacking away and hacking away. It's like, you know what? I wouldn't have cared if they showed his head because he deserved every single blow he got from her on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment that hit everybody, and I'd argue was a little bit better than the game. But again, Troy Baker delivered it great. Pedro Pascal delivered it great. As, of course, Ellie is freaking out because he finds her, he grabs her, and she's freaking out. He's like, it's okay, it's me. As she calms down and sees him, when he grabs her and holds her, he goes, it's okay, baby girl. I'm like, I cried. I'm sorry, I cried. I was like, know what? I want Pedro
for feeling feelings, man.
I want Pedro Pascal to hold me and tell me it's okay like that. But before I just want to say this, that moment, I made a comment on a post on Facebook, and I like that it was positive because I meant it as such. That moment, I think, didn't just resonate for the show and game, like as far as adaptation. That moment resonated for sexual assault survivors in general. People who have survived some sort of assault in like that in their lives, to know that, to see Joel just grab her, calm her down, and say, "It's okay, I've got you." After that sort of traumatization, I think that hit home with so many people. To know that there's still good out there, and I love that it was done very beautifully in the show, done very beautifully in the game too. But like I said, that hit hard for me. Justin, I know you enjoyed it. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, immensely well done episode. That scene, I mean, 1-1. I mean, even better than the video game almost, I would think. I mean, they're doing such care to drive emotion in this game, and they're not afraid to cross boundaries. Like the episode before that, they were not afraid to cross boundaries with the lesbian scene. I mean, they did not care. But it fits so good. That's the thing. That's they're doing things to make homage to the video game, but they're adding their own twist to it in a way, and it just makes the story pop so much better.
And that's the great thing about it. Like Justin said, I didn't think to, but like I said, and like some of the differences are subtle. Like, okay, this villain was a little bit crazier, or this happened at day versus night. Like, it's just one of those things that
it's a nothing burger. It really doesn't make anything different. It just make a location change or a time skill change. It don't matter. I mean, they gotta do change something for TV. I mean,
they always do. Yeah,
they're going to have to extend it because they want this to last more than 2 seasons, and they're going to either have to keep Joel around a little bit longer or kill him off sooner and age Ellie up more. I mean, that's the thing. But in the game, the second part, after Joel dies, they age Ellie up. So,
And
You know,
sorry, they
even,
were talking
even though
about,
the actor that plays Ellie is 20, they're going to have to make her look older.
and they were talking about it that HBO has confirmed they're going to do 2 seasons of the show because there's 2 games to do, so makes
Right.
sense. But we got news earlier this year that as of now, Last of Us 3 for game is not happening. The studio pulled out, so they're not going to make the 3rd one. But hopefully HBO will have the blessings of the producer of the game, and we don't get a Game of Thrones type thing where they just make it without the last one being written. You know,
God.
but as far as Last of Us though, my biggest gripe, I've seen people bitch about the stupid things like, oh, lesbians, or oh, this, that. I'm sorry. Bella Ramsey has been getting so much heat this season. And I sat there and I'm like, heat for what? The girl is giving the performance of a lifetime in this show.
And she looks almost dead up like the one in the video game. So what more could you fucking want?
I don't even care when people are like, oh, she doesn't look like her. I don't care. It's how you perform.
She
the
does
role.
look like her.
They
the
would
thing.
be pissed even if they got Ashley Johnson, her voice actress, to play the character.
They wouldn't care. They would just throw a fit, or either which way they want to beat. They want to fit. Certain people will bitch just to hear themselves talk.
If I read correctly, actually, what Ross just said, sorry, about Ashley Johnson, is she's going to be in the show, and as a somewhat of a, how do I put this, like, in a good twist, she's going to be playing Ellie's mom. The next episode is going to be how Ellie is immune to the virus, and she's playing Ellie's mom as she's giving birth to her.
Huh.
So we got Troy Baker and Ashley in this show. Troy played a villain, but Ashley's going to be playing the mom of Ellie. And I'm like, that's actually pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a lot of fun. But this show, as far as video game adaptations go, fun ones are Sonic. It's not obviously can't be frame for frame in Sonic, but Sonic was a fun one. Other video game ones that haven't come out so great, looking at you, Super Mario Brothers. But Last of Us is really changing the game.
It's me, Star-Lord.
Hey, I'm looking forward to the Mario movie.
Oh, I mean the old one.
Oh.
There is no excuse for the old one.
No, there's not. Old one's about as bad as Battleship.
Hold on.
And that movie, Ross. I know.
Joe over here, the video. Okay, so Joe said the video game was good. When I finished it, my first thought was it was like being in a movie. Good. But Joe said they should get Chris Pratt to. Oh no.
Okay. No.
Joe says get Chris Pratt to replace Pedro Pascal. Joe, take your Ambien and go to sleep.
He's probably already on his Ambien. Probably he's not spamming our chat with nonsense.
Calling us at 3 a.m. But so with this Last of Us as being one of the, honestly, I can agree with them saying this is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, video game adaptation to a show, live action ever, because it's holding up. Amazon now has pressure on them because they greenlit and are starting production on God of War. Now, it'll be interesting what they do with that, because God of War, they can do one of two things. They can either go back to the first game or the soft reboot where they had Chris Judge start playing Kratos.
It'd be interesting if they did something of a fusion between the two. Characterize Kratos with a lot of the character they gave him in the new games, while still having the rage of the original games.
Right, and the casting of Kratos is going to be absolute key. Now, I'm on board 100% that they should get Chris Judge to do it. He's a little bit up there in age, but with seeing Hugh Jackman in his 50s, people like Ryan Reynolds who are going to be 50, and they're getting jacked and they're in shape. Chris Judge is no slouch. He's in shape. I'm on board with the Chris Judge train to play Kratos. Just as much as I'm on the Dave Bautista train that Netflix needs to cast him as Marcus Phoenix. So, I mean, if the fans won by getting Deadpool off the ground and changing Sonic, listen to the fans. Give us Chris Judge as Kratos. Give us Dave Bautista as Marcus Phoenix. But as far as Last of Us is concerned, Pedro Pascal can do no wrong. It's just he's brilliant. He's being brilliant in everything he's done the last 10 years.
God of War and Gears of War are other games that are more advantageous in creating an adaptation for, because they're both very character-driven games. That was the big problem with Halo. It wasn't a character-driven game until the fourth game.
Right.
And any characterization you wanted to get, you had to get out of books.
And Halo, I'm looking forward to Halo Season 2. It is greenlit. I don't know if they started production on it before that. They're like keeping that under wraps pretty hard. I think because with this, I think with Discovery concluding with after 5 seasons, they'll probably give us some taste. But there was a meme earlier, and it took me a bit to realize that it said Pedro Pascal is the single dad we all wanted in life, and it shows him with Grogu, shows him with Ellie, his in-game daughter in Last of Us, and then showed him as Maximilian in Wonder Woman. It's like, oh wait, he's played a lot of roles where he's a single dad. And it's like, okay, I see this now. So that was a funny little meme. Kind of neat to see that. And that is going to be a segue into our final topic of the show, into Pedro Pascal's, I want to say his most fun role that we all love him in, because we don't see him, is The Mandalorian. After I will say this, Justin and I agreed on this one, after a very lackluster season premiere, episode 2 of season 3 really took it by storm. So we were really, really happy with the second episode.
The second episode, after the first episode, was just kind of like, what the fuck am I even watching?
Right.
Like, this is Mandalorian. It looks like a recap. What the fuck?
Yeah, episode 1 was very much a recap. It's like, okay, you know what? We got the recap in Book of Boba Fett. We didn't need it again.
Well, we kind of had to figure out where Grogu's been and how he came back.
True.
Well, they kind of did that in the last season.
Right. But Mando is back. Again, the first episode, if you missed the first episode of Mandalorian, you didn't miss much. You really, really didn't. The only thing that was important was his visit to Bo-Katan Kryze and the castle. Other than that, there was nothing to miss. But I didn't expect it to come so soon, but the second episode takes place on Mandalore. Din goes to find the living waters to bathe himself and absolve him of his sin of removing his helmet. And we get it turns out to be fun at first, and of course quite dangerous. Din gets captured by this weird robot-looking thing. He of course tells Grogu, go find Bo-Katan. Grogu manages to escape, finds Bo-Katan, gets her to come help. And what was a fun sequence, seeing Grogu jump in the Naboo starfighter with not the OG, but the OG character R5D4, the one that the Jawas tried to sell to Luke and Owen back in episode 4. They get Bo-Katan's help. She comes to the planet, is able to save Din, and then she takes him to the living waters. So Din, of course, starts reciting the creed, and we thought at first he got taken by something, but I'm sorry, dude fell.
He got ate.
He fell. So Bo-Katan goes down to save him. And here's where Star Wars nerds, and I'm not a Star Wars nerd per se, but I lost my collective shit as Bo-Katan is rising up through the water with Din. We see some off-looking color, think it's a cliff, and then we see a giant tusk, and then an eye open. And ladies and gentlemen, the mythosaurs are alive and canon in the Star Wars universe.
Well, wasn't that what they grabbed one of that kid or whatever in the first episode?
Oh, that was just some giant alligator-looking thing. Because remember when they were Mandalorizing the kid, That wasn't Mandalore. They were on another planet. But so we have the Mythosaur. I'm not gonna lie. I was jumping up and down on the couch like a fucking little kid, and Leia's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "That was the Mythosaur, the long thought extinct, legendary mythical creature that the first Mandalorians rode, is alive and kicking in this universe." So I was thrilled. Justin, what did you think when you saw the Mythosaur?
I didn't really care. Honestly,
There's our contrarian.
it just, it was just, yeah, they showed so little of it. I didn't really figure what it was until it was mentioned out to me. Like, had they shown a little bit more of it, then yeah, I would have, gotten it. We might see more of it in the next episode because, they pretty much cut off as Bo-Katan is rising up to the surface. So,
Yeah.
I mean, will we get to see the whole thing next episode?
This will make Ross chuckle a little bit. The Mandalorians rode these Mythosaurs. Now, these Mythosaurs are massive. Like, their size is described as small cities in size. And
okay.
Now, the Mythosaur, though, the Mandalorians rode the Mythosaurs in Legend, much like the Fremen rode the giant Shai-Hulud on Arrakis.
Interesting.
So the legend is the Mandalorian of old, the very first ones, rode these Mythosaurs. So it's never been confirmed in canon until now that the Mythosaurs were alive or even extinct. That's all we kept seeing. So now we have them alive and well, at least one. And it's interesting because as Din was fighting his way on Mandalore, because he was fighting other creatures, he whipped out the Darksaber, got himself, out of a jam, but then he got himself into the jam, and Bo-Katan used the black saber with ease because she's held it before. So Bo-Katan not only has wielded the Darksaber in this episode, she is also, Din was knocked out, she's also the only one so far to have seen the Mythosaur.
All right. I did see an interesting meme about this episode, but it was a Star Trek meme. Raffi and Worf. Raffi, have you heard of the Darksaber? Yes, the Klingons had one similar, the Sword of Kahless. We got rid of it long ago. It was more trouble than it was worth.
Justin, anything? Or wait, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I had my green screen start to screw up, so I just went ahead and just cut it off. We're at the hour mark anyway, so. Nothing really much of that. I pretty much said everything. It's so far. It's I think like the best thing we've gotten out of Star Trek Picard and Mimi land is Shaw no Mimi's. I know I've certainly took advantage of them. Let's see what else.
That was interesting.
Dipshit Chicago is also something else new.
Was it
Picard
how
dropping
Shaw was able to see through Riker and Picard as soon as they boarded the ship, before they boarded the ship, probably.
Yep, they already knew something was up. And Shaw gave them non-first class quarters.
That was so.
I would have slept.
Shaw does not need to be a dick to them. All right, like
yes, he did. Okay. They were coming aboard his ship to pull some typical shenanigans. That's why he brought up all those foibles and misadventures on the Enterprise. He knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Shaw, I would have looked into those 2 minutes and put that together. Be like, okay, what are they up to? I'm just surprised he didn't outright ask them right off the bat.
Well, he kind of did, and that's when they just obviously gave him the false story.
They bullshitted him.
But yeah, it's mind-boggling. But yeah, let's see here. We've covered The Last of Us, we've covered Mandalorian, we've covered Picard. Is there anything else you want to go over?
No, we covered Disco being canceled.
ending. So,
If it doesn't end with Burnham crying, it's not a finale.
good thing Ross was away for that.
All right. Well, Ross did have to step away for that one, but we have covered all our topics. Let's see. Joe, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. All right. On that note.
And Joe, my argument in the other group is continuing on. I just called. I just responded with, "Are you drunk or something? You really can't be this much of a dipshit." Let's see how this one goes, shall we?
Okay, let's see. Okay, got set up here. So then, ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you for joining us for tonight. Joe, I'm old. I'm 56. Think higher.
Damn. Leia, smack him. I know you can hear me.
No, actually, Leia's out working right now. She just left. She left about 15 minutes ago.
Oh, hopefully she's listening in her car. He'll come back and smack you.
Here, just for Leia. Here, I'll play this for her. There we go. There we go. Whip crack. On that note, guys, so here's that worked out. So so Justin and I are going to continue to try and keep our every other week podcast rotation schedule. So look for us on the 9th. Let me see here. 12th. No, the 26th of March will probably be the next time we.
Are we going to stay on Saturdays or are we going to go on Sundays? Ross.
That'll depend on if I get a car anytime soon.
Fuck it all, fuck it all. Don't give a shit anymore. Fuck it all.
Okay, Justin, don't give me a copyright strike on my Twitch here.
It's fucking all. It's not like it's the other.
So look for us on March 26th. Will be our as we said, we like to go every other week now. So Justin and I will go try to go about March 26th will be our next show. By then,
our sanity this way.
By then, I believe Last of Us will actually be finished because we have an episode on the 12th and an episode 19th. So we will actually be able to discuss Last of Us in its entirety on our next show. This upcoming week, for me personally, I will not be streaming again till good Lord. I won't be streaming again until the 22nd of March. So I'm going to take a little over a week off because I'm going to Vegas for my best friend's bachelor party. So we leave Wednesday night and come back.
So wait, you said bachelor party. That should be.
But you can find Justin at twitch.tv/separate man games. Sorry. Again, I'll be out for the next week or so, doing something in Vegas. I mean, it'll be roofies, it might be cocaine, it might be weed, who knows?
It might be $2,000 at Sapphires.
Exactly. You can also find Ross at twitch.tv/live-love-play. That's live_love_play. He's doing what you see right now. He loves to paint his action figures.
He does actually play video games. He does actually play video games once in a while.
Yes, once in a while he does.
Once things are stable, I'll be streaming more regularly again.
Leia told me don't bring any of it home. Well then, guys, I appreciate you all tuning in. Ross,
what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, Leia. Don't you know that rule?
What happens in Vegas lives forever on Twitter.
This is true. But it was great having Ross back. We hope to have Ross more frequently, as he was kind enough to offer me a spot way back when they did Super Geeks. So of course, the feelings mutual to have him back as a nice little breath of fresh air next to Justin. But again, guys, thank you. Have a good rest of your night. Justin, go ahead and sign us off. Oh, we're going that sign off. All right, folks, have a great rest of your night. We will see you all in the next show.